Imagine being Nintendo and simply fumbling this hard on practically everything for a brand new console that could have been the biggest slam dunk of all. Every time we get more news about the Nintendo Switch 2, it's always the worst possible news to actually get for a brand new console owner, and being for some reason possibly the most anti-consumer thing you've actually ever seen. Everything from Nintendo being able to brick your console if they don't like what you're doing with it, to now apparently it turns out that Nintendo Switch 2s are out in the wild and people are saying they can't even use it until it actually releases because it requires a literal update to function. According to Wario64, a Nintendo Switch 2 may in fact be out in the wild, with a YouTube channel being listed as well. Clearly, though, the image listed here is in fact a black picture because you're going to see what happened next. And it's gone. Yeah, it's just totally gone, erased from existence. The video that was put up on YouTube is in fact kaput, apparently via a copyright claim from Webcapio. I'm not sure what Webcapio even is. It should just say Nintendo, but that video is in fact donezo. The thing is, though, there is more than that going on Twitter, because apparently Twitter is now the Wild West. Wario64 was able to get a screenshot of the comments section from that YouTube video before Nintendo took it down, showing this. More video, please, with the A2 Dubai account, which posted the video originally, saying, Nintendo locked the Switch 2. It just needs update to function, so I'm waiting for June 5th to unlock it. It also turns out that more news is hitting the streets as well, with Wario64 also posting this. Another person shared with me that they have a Nintendo Switch 2 as well. I have no permission to post pics, but can share that when they try to boot a Switch 1 game, a message prompts, please connect to the internet and update your system. Needs update to boot a game. That's right, we are at the beginning precipice of the exact thing nobody has ever wanted for video games ever. Ever since the Xbox One, or the Xbone, everybody was lambasting Microsoft for the fact that it required you to always be online and to have consistent DRM checks, and to then, of course, have Kinect scan your face and take a DNA sample every 30 minutes to make sure that you were you and the person who bought the game is the one playing the game. Now we have Nintendo doing the exact same thing, but apparently, though, things are not going the same way. 10 years later, it turns out everybody's magically okay with Nintendo, causing you and forcing you to always be online, have an actual check, literally have a brick of a console when you buy it for $500 in the first place in order to acquire an update to play the actual game. This tells me a few things. Number one, this console launch is absolutely 100% rushed. Number two, this also explains why reviewers were not given Nintendo Switch 2s to review before the actual launch date, and they are also requiring the ability to download that patch day one in order for the console to actually function and play games. Imagine that! A console you spent money for, a physical thing that you think you actually own, you in fact don't. You are now required, in fact, it behooves you to let Nintendo tell you when you can and can't play your console that you gave them the money for. And I know this argument comes along every now and then.
But Alex, it's 2025. Who doesn't have internet?
That's not the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm making is simply of the fact of control. You do not own your devices. You have zero control over them. They took your actual real money and gave you something with strings attached. That's not how this is supposed to work. We are literally in the worst timeline of all. Whenever you do a sort of trade like that where I trade you my hard-earned money for the product you think I should pay for, then you go around and say, but hold on there, Chiefo. You got to make sure that you log on the internet and we give you permission to use the product after you already gave us the money for it. No, that's not how this actual transaction works. I've already given you the money. You've already given me the product. There shouldn't be strings attached. Trying to go ahead and downplay this saying, but everybody's got internet. Who doesn't have internet is not an argument. That is literally you trying to deflect and create a separate argument for the actual reason of the fact that you do not own that product even physically right now. But of course, it in fact gets worse because not only is Nintendo locking you away from your console until the actual release date for you to actually download a patch to then actually use your console, which should be working out of the box day one already without needing to go onto the internet, it turns out that Nintendo is also locking away features as well behind the new model of the Switch. Yes, it always seems to get worse. Dash Attack VT says this, like, I fought to secure mine from a shopping mall GameStop, but holy crap, Nintendo is gatekeeping a filter to make the games look like an older TV to the new system. Rewind, I don't know the technical power that goes into a feature for a 3D console, but a CRT filter? You're just saying you to Switch One owners at this point, who are your biggest consumer base. People are not going to drop the Switch One unless you drop full support, for which we all know you want to. Showcasing a photo of Nintendo's own tweet saying that there are new features for the N64 classics, with Rewind being only available on the Switch 2, a CRT filter only available on the Switch 2, and view and change the controls on the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 directly. That's right, Nintendo is now locking away features of an online service that you've already paid for behind a brand new console that requires you to have an online patch to then download to even in fact play in the first place for the actual service you already pay for. That's a mouthful, I know, that's what I'm good at. The thing is though, I don't know why Nintendo is all of a sudden thinking about trying to lock away features from an online service of games that they literally not letting you buy, but they're letting you rent through their online pass as well. But here we go, that's right. Rewinds and CRT filters are not only available for the Nintendo Switch 2 directly. The fact that an Android phone can emulate N64 games, even GameCube games, right now in today's day and age, and provide you with CRT filters and the ability to rewind and actual quick saves really goes to show Nintendo is one of the worst companies of all. One of the absolute worst. This company gets more of a pass than anybody I've honestly ever seen. The fact that they are consistently locking away features, locking away consoles, charging more money, increasing the cost of games, increasing the cost of their online services, and giving you nothing in return really goes to show that I don't know why this company has such a stranglehold on everybody in the gaming industry. Oh, but they're okay because my nostalgia of my childhood and the games make me happy and smile. Therefore, you're just going to go ahead, bend over, touch your toes, let them prolapse you and your wallet on a consistent basis. But of course, fanboys had to fanboy, and this is what we have to deal with now as well, because the Defense Force has come out in fact, full force. Nintengod on Twitter said this. First of all, that's his actual name on Twitter. This is going to be a hoot, let me tell you. It was smart by Nintendo to lock the Nintendo Switch 2 and require a launch day update. This is obviously a security measure for the launch of Switch 2. It will definitely change with later shipments of the units that will come ready to play out of the box. First of all, how do you know? You don't even work for Nintendo. Sure, there may be other iterations of the Switch 2 coming around that could in fact have that firmware on there, but the thing is this, if you're someone who doesn't have access to the internet the day you get your console and you're expecting to actually play, you should be able to, play the console without needing the update. That update should be in the console day one on launch. You're giving them the full $500. You should be getting the full console, not needing a patch to play the console you already paid for. But look at the replies, they get even better. Banner 18 says it was the best decision. Hackers and leakers were ready to break this console up to spread disinformation a week before to deter sales. It's not happening and they are pissed. It's so funny too, LOL. Who is spreading disinformation? What hacker and leaker? What are they going to do? Make a YouTube video, get a couple of thousand views, and then go from there? Disinformation to stop sales? What are you talking about? Every simp on the internet like you is buying this fucking thing. Hello? So Does It Play in fact found this tweet specifically, and they said this: Nintendo fans said the mandatory system update was to prevent leaks. Turns out there is no mandatory system update according to the post listed below. And that Necro Felipe Univ Nintendo was able to go ahead and get their hands on a Switch 2 and showcase that it is running at 19.0.0. Currently, though, the Nintendo Switch 1 is on 20.0.0 from my remembrance. I could be wrong about that, though. But the thing is, I'm not entirely sure what in fact is happening. I've seen Switch 2s boot up to the main menu and then go from there, but no one's ever put in a key card or a game to actually see if the fucking thing in fact runs. But I think the best response has been this one. So no backwards compatibility without about the update, and that could be what is in fact going on. Because honestly, we don't even know. Unless the Switch 2 may in fact need the 20.0.0 update to have backwards compatibility, I'm not entirely sure. Or if the fact that people are just getting to the main menu and saying, no, there's no lock needed, or yes, there is a lock needed. There shouldn't be a lock in the first place. That's the point. That's the problem. The system should come with the original firmware needed to run the games and work off the block. It shouldn't need an update to run directly. Nintendo has been half-assing this the entire time, and it really is not a good thing, but the bootlicking, in fact, continues. Here, in fact, is Nintendo Prime saying this: I don't like needing the internet to set up and use consoles. This includes a Switch 2. Good, awesome, great, we're in agreement, my boy. We're gonna stop reading right there. All this other stuff, not important, not needed. Didn't have to happen. It's actually you saying how bad Nintendo is treating its customers by locking a console behind internet usage, right? Right? Let's see. But can we stop pretending the 300 million console gamers in the world don't have internet access? 6 billion people in the world have access to the internet. I sometimes think we create outrage over things, imagining bad scenarios, and then when those scenarios don't exist or happen, we brush it under the rug like we never complained about it at all. When we get to 10 years out from now, if you still need the internet to set up the new Switch 2s, I think the conversation can shift. Why 10 years? Because then we're on to the next gaming system most likely. So concerns about the old system staying viable are worth discussing. But in 10 years, we also won't magically lose access to the internet. I don't know how you could sit here and literally defend a company doing a thing that you literally do not like. And instead of holding them accountable and saying, yo, hey, I do not want to use the internet to go ahead and use a console you've already sold me because I should already own it after I gave you the money to go on and be like, well, 6 billion people have internet, you guys, and like there's 300 million gamers, and so like, what's the problem? You know, the problem isn't about using the internet, you the problem is about ownership. You don't own that console when you bought it. You bought it and they're still controlling it from their end. Even you had to admit it yourself in your own tweet. In 10 years or whatever, when we're trying to talk about whether you still need to access the internet to use it, you shouldn't have to do it from the beginning. That's the point. If you're trying to sit here and say, well, in 10 years we'll have that conversation, why? It should be happening now. Because if you stop them from doing it now, you don't have to worry about it later on. That's the point. In your own tweet, in your own idiocy of wanting to go ahead and gawk 9,000 like Squidward on this company, you literally just admitted to yourself that this is not a good thing. And you're sitting here defending it. Why? Stop. Just criticize them. It's not going to be bad. And then we've got Nintendo fanboys talking about the Steam Deck because clearly a system that isn't relevant is just honestly freaking them the hell out because it's going to be kind of funny if you could emulate Switch 2 games on the Steam Deck. That would be the actual best thing ever. But let's see what Juice Man Vaughn had to say. Typical Steam Deck user activity, TBH. If it wasn't for Nintendo games, what would most of these people even be doing with that machine? Playing every single game on Steam. Playing every single game on GOG. Playing every game available because it is a literal personal computer. I can play every game that you do not have on your Switch, plus all of your Switch 1 games. That's what it is. Plus all the PS1 games, all the PS2 games, even PS3 games can be played on this little device. I can play everything right here. That's why it's so good. That's what we're doing with this device. Instead of being on Twitter, we're playing games. You got 8,000 likes. Oh, God. Oh, God. I swear to God, if this dude made a reply that completely rebukes his entire statement like the last one, I don't know what I'm going to do. Here is Cosmic.Hack. Great series of games, by the way. Absolutely play them, emulate them because they're super expensive to find. Trust me, the Dot Hack series are fantastic. Start with Infection. He says, not beating the allegations, but most of what's on mine are PS2 and PS3 games that are impossible to play or buy nowadays, or too expensive like Xenosaga 3. Juice Man Vaughn replies, I'd have a rack of PS1 games on my shit, to be honest, if I had one. No. I swear to God, you're all just like Nintendo Prime before, literally negating your entire argument previously. What do people do with the Steam Deck? If it wasn't for Nintendo, it would be irrelevant. Yet you're turning right around and admitting to yourself and everybody else, hey, if I had a Steam Deck, I'd be playing all those old PS1 games too. That's what they do with it. That's what you do with it. Nintendo has nothing to do with the Steam Deck at all or its popularity or relevance. Holy shit, dude. This is literally main character syndrome 101, and you're not even the main characters. You guys are an NPC for Nintendo to tip right over, hold by your ankles, and shake out every shekel from your pockets. Bro! Here's the deal, and this is why I'm so angry about this, right? I was looking forward to getting a Switch 2. I was like, shit, man, it's backwards compatible. It's got everything ready. It's good to go. It'll be the easiest slam dunk of all time. Nintendo would literally earn my money. They just gave me a more powerful Switch and had it set up. But now they're just continually just screwing the pooch. They're locking everything behind being online, locking everything behind more paywalls, locking everything behind other things as well. And on top of that, charging more money for the console and for the games. They would have had an easy slam dunk with me, but they chose not to. And you know what? I'm choosing not to give them my money. And the second that an emulator comes up for the Switch 2, guess where I'm going to be? And here's my entire thing about all of this, right? Nintendo does not need you to defend them. They don't. There's already an army of simps doing that already, and people who really just have more money than sense, unfortunately. And the thing is, the more people try to defend these practices, the more that these practices go into other parts of the gaming industry as well. $80 games, anybody? We're already seeing that happen by the fact. And on top of that, it just gets worse and worse. With the Nintendo Switch 2, they have been notorious in trying to put friction points in front of the customer consistently. And I'll tell you this, piracy is not about I'm too broke to pay for games. No, piracy is a service problem. And the fact that Nintendo is stopping people from actually getting the service or the product in an easy fashion makes piracy look a lot more appealing in the first place. And that's why everybody wants an emulator, because nobody wants to deal with having online checks to access the console they already paid for. Nobody wants to deal with $80 video games that aren't adjusted for the actual currency of the country they're being sold in and are sold at a massive inflated rate because the US is what everybody puts their MSRP to. And saying the most ridiculous shit like, oh, everybody has internet to access, that's going to be okay. That's not the point, and everybody knows that. Making that argument is a complete idiotic thing to do because all you're doing is minimizing the actual problem, which is ownership, because clearly you don't own the games anymore because everybody's doing a game key card. And on top of that, you don't own the console anymore because they can brick it and it's coming to you bricked as well. But you know what, Nintendo? You could have had a sale, but you lost it with this, himbo. Sucks to suck, I guess. But you know what? Let me know what you guys are going to do with the comment section down below. Are you getting a Switch 2? Are you okay with the online check? Just want to get your thoughts and your ideas in the comment section as well. But you know what? If you want to see more of this kind of content, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, my hot takes in the gaming industry, fanboy content, and live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 84,000 subscribers. And I just want to say thank you guys so very much. If you want Discord access or most during live stream, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Trust me, it's a hell of a show right here on this channel live every Saturday, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Trust me, it's a good time. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you next time. Peace!